Let's hit it.
All right, guys, we are back. This episode, we're going to talk about the game of life. Yes, we're going to talk about paying rent, paying your mortgage, buying food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about just how do you pay your bills?
This is the real monopoly.
This
The real roll the dice.
So
this is it.
So let's talk. And we actually did a show about this, but let's just talk about rents. Rents are going up, man.
Ooh.
They're going up
through the roof compared to where they were at.
Most people don't have the credit to secure a mortgage, so they got to rent.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that this older generation, the 45 to 60, are renting. They're renting. Now, I understand the younger generation, they're just trying to get up on their own and stuff like that. But it is looking like more and more of the older generation, 40, 50, 55, 60, they don't have home ownership. They're renting. Yeah. And rent is expensive.
Rent, in some cases, is more than a mortgage.
Okay.
Well, there's two groups, right? There's one group that doesn't want to be tied down. There's especially among the youth, there's a group of people who don't want to be tied down by a mortgage, wants the flexibility, want the ability to get up and go, to move and do these things, not to lay anchor, not to put down roots. They want that flexibility. And then, as strange as it may seem, there's a little bit older group who, through decisions that they've made, have been put in precarious situations to where they may have bad credit.
Yes.
They may have been laid off jobs, don't have the seniority, and quite frankly, not making the money. Okay. And so with bad credit and not having the money coming in that you would like, you're forced to rent. Not that you want to rent, you're forced into a situation. So there's a couple of different, teams on that, and in some cases it's unfortunate. But I would like to say too that this is a different age. I think when we were growing up, our parents' dream was to get a house, settle down, own the house, take that house and leave it to your kids, have something to leave. But the youth of today, they don't think like that.
No. I agree. I remember the big thing was, hey, get a job, buy a home, settle down, and then turn around and you want to be able to leave that home. If you have any children or stuff like that.
Yes.
And so this way they have some form of legacy and some places to stay. The time has changed. People don't want to be responsible, for the, you got the house, now you got to something break, you gotta fix it.
Man, it's very expensive.
And stuff like that. But these renting a 2-bedroom apartment is almost $2,000.
$2,000, and then you throw in, hey, let's put it out there, a single mom with a couple of kids.
Yeah. 3-bedroom.
Got a job.
Okay. She needs a 3-bedroom.
Think about that. You working on a job, you making maybe a decent amount. Let's say you're making 50, 60,000.
Okay.
A couple of kids with that, the school is more expensive. Clothes are outrageous. Your kid, depending on their age, they have a cell phone. They have a tablet, right? They got all these different things. They have activities. You're working, of course. You got a car.
Activities. Don't get me started with activities.
You got a car note. Come on now. So 50,000. And let's be real. Let's say you make this person makes 60,000.
Okay.
60,000 is not take home.
No.
That's not take home.
No.
She's coming home with 40,
Yes.
40, 45, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so the
That's about
reality of it
$3,500.
is, and
$3,500 a month.
come on, and hope that her credit is good.
Yeah.
Hope that her credit is good, because if she's not, if her credit's not good, then what about the neighborhood? If you
Yeah.
live in a so-so neighborhood, things are more expensive in the neighborhood. You're paying more for gas, more for food, right? Right? You're paying more taxes. All these things. You make less money, but you're paying out more. So now it's harder for you to get in a position
Yeah.
to buy a home, even if you want to.
And for those who want to buy a home, coming up with the down payment. It sounds really
Yeah.
easy.
Oh my
It sounds
goodness.
really
Oh my.
easy. You renting, let's say you already renting is $1,500, but that down payment, even 3% on a $200,000 home, that that's 10 grand. You don't got
10
10
grand.
grand just laying around. You need that to feed yourself. You're trying to figure out, how do you save money, be able to actually go to closing? Because we haven't talking about that's just a down payment. We ain't talking about closing costs. That's another $3,000-4,000. So now
You
you
can't
got to
spend
take
all
care.
your money. So if you put 10,000 down, you at least got to have 15,000, or hopefully more. You don't want to spend all your savings.
And if you go back to your scenario, $60,000, $3,500, rent $2,000, that's $1,500. Now you got to feed food. Okay, guys, we gonna go
Ooh,
there. Food ain't cheap. Food
healthcare,
is not
healthcare.
cheap. Oh, don't have nothing happen. One
Remember, you
healthcare
got
bill,
kids.
one healthcare bill will wipe you out. And if you have,
Wipe you out.
it will wipe you out. And if you're trying to feed your children, let's say you got two kids, single mom, single dad. Now you got single dads, okay? Two kids, a week, that's 250, maybe 300 a week trying to feed the kids.
Right,
Milk, seven,
right.
$8. Eggs. I mean, then on top of that, they're not really like, it's not like when we were growing up, you had a bowl of cereal, you had some oatmeal,
Mm.
cream of wheat, you know, you know what I mean?
Get,
Mama
get,
got
get
up.
you a bologna sandwich and keep it moving.
No, no,
Yes.
no, 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 no. Now the kids got to have snacks. Okay, they got to go to school with a lunch with some snacks, a juice box. Did you know how much these juice boxes are?
Yeah.
Man, man, this Sun Kiss juice, man, these Sun Kiss juice box $6, $7, $8. I'm like, Jesus, well, how many juices in there? Like 5, 8. I'm like, that's it? Ain't nothing else? So, so
And you know what? But think about this though, and you know this to be true as well, and that is, when you raise in a family like that, you don't want your kids to feel like they don't have, right?
oh,
So even
see,
though you're a single mom or a single dad raising kids, you don't want them to feel like they don't have it. So you still trying to take them to McDonald's. Remember, drive through at McDonald's, a parent and two kids, three kids, that's $30.
$30.
You know what I'm saying? Don't have a young teen. Don't don't have a couple of teen. What I'm saying is that the money that's being spent out, and you don't want your child to be made fun of at
Yes.
school, so they can't dress any kind of way. So you
There's a lot of
gotta,
pressure.
you don't want to keep up with the Joneses, but you gotta.
I'm
It's a real thing.
It's pressure out here.
It,
There's
it,
pressure
it
on
is a struggle.
parents. You have your child in school. You don't want them feeling inferior.
Correct.
I mean, no, it's not
Correct.
saying, oh no, they need some Jordans, but they need something.
They need something.
They,
Yes.
they have to go to
Yes, I
school
agree.
with a new shirt on. Unfortunately, the peer pressure is so hard. And now with social media,
Oh my
these
goodness.
children, they're peer pressuring them at school on social media. People, it's a lot. So it's a struggle.
It's
Like I said,
it's a
you
lot.
got rent, you got food. You brought up healthcare. I totally forgot about healthcare. But here's the thing, though:
Healthcare.
if you don't have healthcare, my wife recently had her had her knee done. You had your knee done.
Oh
Did you
yeah.
know without insurance, that's $100,000 surgery? If you need that, and you don't have insurance, you got Medicare, Medicaid. That's a whole nother thing right there. We won't even go there. I didn't even realize this. Did you know that there's like 12 different forms of Medicare? Medicare Part A, Part B, Part C,
Yeah.
HIJK, elemental
Yeah.
P. There's like an alphabet
Yeah.
soup so there's base Medicare. Now here's the crazy thing. If you're getting Social Security, and this is where the struggle is for older adults. They're getting Social Security based on that Medicare that they choose reduces the amount of Social Security that they get. And then if you
Correct.
want the supplement,
Yeah.
that's an extra fee that you got to figure out how to pay for when you're just trying to get some medicine.
Let's think of the choices that you're talking about making.
Yes.
You're talking about choosing between your health and eating.
Yes. Yes, I am.
That's the choice you're making. You
Yes.
because when you're on that fixed income, it's not like you can go out and just all of a sudden get a job.
No.
Where you can get your hustle on and make all. You're talking about choosing, and that's what happened. That's what happens to a lot of our seniors. Um, Sometimes you go into a 7-Eleven
Mhm.
or some dollar store or something, and you see a person that's a senior. You know that they're up there in age, and at first, when I used to see it, I used to think, hold on, this person should be at home in a rocking chair playing with their grandkids, or
Exactly.
they should be living their best life right now. But no, they're out here working not because they miss it, it's because they have to.
Did you know there's a
They
cap
have
on
to.
how much money you can make if you're on Social
Yes,
Security?
I do know.
From 62
I do know.
to 67, there's a cap.
To
So it's not
67,
like you
there's a
can go
cap.
out here and that's nothing that threw me off. That okay, I'm getting my Social Security, but if you actually go get a job, a decent job, making
Hmm.
$30,000 a year, your Social Security go bye bye. I
Yes,
think you only can make
because
18. I think it's
they
13.
want you locked
It's
in.
13 to 18,000 that you can make. When you think about seniors, so guys, first of all, that's a whole other show where we're gonna do a show about Social Security because I think people really don't understand how Social Security really really works. But basically,
Yeah.
all the jobs that you have pays into Social Security, and that determines how much money you get from Social Security. Period. Easy. That's the easy way. But sometimes you get people only getting $1,500.
Listen, you may have went through a period where you weren't working.
Yes.
You may have went through a period, hard times or whatever. Shoot, you may have went through a period where you were incarcerated. You came out, changed your life, all those type of things. And even though you're on the straight and narrow and you a wonderful person now, that affects your earnings, your lifetime earnings. Your numbers are low. So if you're fortunate enough to get to those years where you're able to retire, you don't have any money. You don't have any money stocked up. And think about that.
Mhm.
Think about people who all their lives, people who maybe not went to college, right? They started working right after school. And so for the majority of their lives, by them not being professionals, they've worked labor jobs, they work all these different type of jobs. They didn't make any money.
Wow.
So what do? They didn't make any money. What do? They barely scrape their entire life. So what do? I mean, we call it the game of life uh, because you can lose.
Yes. Yes.
You can lose.
Oh, here it goes. Here it
And
goes.
when you
Here it goes.
lose,
Here you go. I found out. I got the number, man. I got the number.
what's the number?
So the number is okay. Full retirement. So that means 67. You can
67,
yes,
correct?
you can make an extra $21,000
Yep.
without it affecting your Social Security benefit. If you make $21,240 and more, each dollar that you make over that $21,000 reduces your Social Security check by $2 for every dollar.
But does unfair mean anything to anybody? It makes me wonder
Oh,
about
I'm sorry. I'm
two
sorry.
groups.
Okay, that's before 67. That's before. After that, you can
That's
do
at 65. That's
so
like 65, right?
65 to
Or
67.
62.
So yeah, so 62 you can do it up to 67. So
Yeah.
full, you can make 56,000. But here's the kicker: anything over $56,000 for every dollar is $3. So let's say you're 62 and you said, "Man, I'm going to get unemployment. I mean, I'm going to get Social Security." Right?
Uh, uh,
Here's
I'm
the problem.
through. I'm ready.
You ready?
Yes.
You ready? As soon as you say,
Yes.
I'm gonna take Social Security. Any money that
Right.
you make over $21,000, $21,204, anything above that, for every dollar, $2 is reduced in your Social Security check.
Come out of your Social Security. Yeah.
So if you make $1,500, it only takes $750 over that $21,240 for you get nothing.
I want you to think about this. And the people that's watching this, I want you to think about this. What kind of person would come up with a plan like that? Now, dollar for dollar, you can kind of go with it. I can't, but you can kind of go with it. So you say anything over 21,000, you make a dollar, lose a dollar. So it kind of evens this way out. I can go with that. But what type of sadistic type person would want to double, triple it, with the 62, 67? Who would come up with that? Who are you thinking that you would hurt these people? Because we've already been talking about inflation, the high prices, the high rent, all these high things. So what was the number? $1,800 a month.
Yeah.
What can you do with $1,800 a month? Come on. What are you gonna do with $1,800? You can get you a 1 bedroom or something in the hood. You still ain't touched on utilities, gas, all these other things.
Now here's the kicker.
When
you get 67, you can make as much money as you want.
I'm actually, I'll probably go to 70.
And get full Social Security. And he's talking about raising it to 70.
And you know what? Here's the sadistic part about that, raising it to 70. And because I've heard a couple of shows where they were talking about that. And the reason that they're using what they're using to raise to 70, they're saying that people want to work more. People, and then they use the numbers. They're saying, look at all these people that's still working. They're still working after 67. These people have a lot to offer, and they still want to work. They don't want to work. They want to eat. They want to eat. They want to have some shelter.
But what happens though? They take away your job where you're making 60, 70, $80,000 a year. According to this, if you go get Social Security, you can't get another job or jobs to get back to where you were because Social Security will start taking away your money after $21,000.
Is that crazy or what? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just feel like if this is the game of life, then this game is not fair.
No,
it's not fair.
No,
it seemed like it's rigged. There's two groups that we should value, but we don't. Our children,
yes,
so far as their education, and our seniors,
yes.
When you hear politicians, that's one of their main taglines. Oh, the children. Oh, the education. They're our most precious. They're all of this. Oh, we just care so much about. And then our seniors. You know, politicians are always at the senior citizen home. They are always going to the seniors and talking about the seniors and this and the seniors. And those two groups, they do the absolute least for. They don't hinder the people that make all these high priced medicines. They subsidize these companies by the billions of dollars. And in turn, they get absolutely no breaks on the cost.
No.
None.
The game of life is
And
rough.
then for our children, our children, they talk about the children and how important they are. And they underpaid the teachers. They underpaid the school districts. You know, I did a thing the other day where I talked about how, did you know that last year, the lottery took in $113 billion? Did you know that?
Didn't know that.
$113 billion.
Nope.
And they paid out 63 billion.
Okay, that's 40 left. That's 40 left.
Well, where is it?
Oh, don't even get me started.
Well, where did it go?
Don't even
Where did it go?
See, that's a whole nother show. Guys, see, we just thinking of new shows. So you know what? You know, we gonna leave it on that, but oh my goodness, that's a whole nother show. Where did the money go?
Show me the money.
Show me. That's the name of that's the name.
Show me the money.
That's gonna be the name of the next one. Show me the money, because we gonna talk
Show
about.
Me the money.
And I know there's nothing wrong with giving money away to our brothers and sisters in the Ukraine, but we want to talk about how much money do the government really give away when we got homeless cities here in the United States. Kids
homeless
can't
cities.
eat here in
California. Over 20,000 people are living in tent cities.
Living
in California. 20,000.
If you come downtown to Chicago, you got it's a tent row under the bridge, under Wacker. It's a whole new city. It's a tribe down there.
Yes.
Now before it was bad. It's worse. It's worse.
Yep.
So guys, again, the struggle. And thanks for watching. What? Now what's happening?